I'm Rosa Mendez, and I'm here at the #1 Long Island broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh. I had the best time ever!
Hey, listen, Daddy, you're listening to the #1 broadcast, Monte and Pharaoh, Daddy, in Long Island. The best pro wrestling broadcast of all time, I think.
Jimmy, I got to tell you, man, it feels good to be back on YouTube. It was quite disappointing what happened to us, but we bounced back fairly quickly.
Well, what else would we do? We're almost at 5,000 subscribers.
Well, speaking of that, man, we need more members.
Okay.
What do you think we need to do to get the people of those 5,000 subscribers to come on and join the team as a Monte the Pharaoh member?
Nudity is out of the question. Any other ideas?
I don't know, man. I don't know. But what I do have a few ideas.
Well, just like Prel, they should tell 2 friends, and they could tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Check out all our content.
But that's, you know what? That's why you're the star of the show, because guess what? Members get special content. Even we spoke about it. Pharaoh came to me one day and he goes, man, what's the deal? I can't even watch some of these videos because I'm not a member. And I said, there you go, Pharaoh. You got to be a member because this is what the members get. They get free content
Nice.
that none of the other fans that watch this show get.
That's right.
You get free autographs from some of these wonderful stars that come in, right?
Nice.
All you do is you go to the MNP webpage, or our own page, and shoot us an email and say, hey, man, I want a picture of Tommy Rich. I want a picture of whatever. And boy, that's on its way.
We give them their choice.
That's right.
We rock.
We do rock.
And you need to rock, too. Join.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast, Monte the Pharaoh, only seen here out of Indie Music TV. At the board, back again. Not 1 time, not 2 times.
3 times.
Maybe 4 times.
Really?
Abe, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Man, always good to see you, bro.
Always good to see you guys.
You may be the Monte the Pharaoh lucky charm.
Abe. And he's honest. We're off to a good start.
He's an honest Abe.
He's honest Abe. Yeah,
By the way, I ever tell you my wife hates the movie Lincoln? I think I did tell you that, right?
I don't think I saw that. Who played Lincoln?
Oh, what's this?
Oh, wait a minute. It's the Silence of the Lambs guy?
No. It was,
he'd make a terrible
It was
Lincoln.
the dude from...
The guy from Star Trek? Spock.
The dude from Gangs
Spock.
of New York.
Oh, okay. Oh, I understand. Daniel Day-Lewis?
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Really? And he was bad?
Yeah.
That guy's a killer
No,
actor.
I'm a big Lincoln guy, as you know.
How does it end? Does he
Help
get shot?
me, Spock. You know that, right?
Help me, Spock.
But
that prop, that harpoon in the back. Oh, a harpoon.
got to give him a little bit of credit.
Oh, God. The whole set, those rocks and everything like that, those rocks that they stole from Cedarhurst Paper.
Too good.
Party
Oh, my
Warehouse.
Oh,
That's
my God.
great. That is great.
Don't get me laughing.
I'm sorry.
So,
it happens.
before we get to our special guest,
yeah.
something we've been covering for months,
Okay.
Daniel Masterson
like
from That
this.
70s Show
I don't like this.
has now been found guilty on 2 counts of rape in a retrial, faces up to 30 years in prison. A jury found Danny Masterson guilty of 2 counts of rape Wednesday at his Los Angeles retrial. That 70s Show actor faces up to 30 years in prison. The jury of 7 women and 5 men reached the verdict after deliberating for 7 days, spread over for 2 weeks. They could not reach a verdict on the 3rd count, and Masterson rape a longtime girlfriend was voted 8-4.
8-4 after
in
2
conviction
weeks.
after
8-4.
2 weeks.
Wow.
Thoughts on that? And the first trial, as we discussed it numerous times before, was a mistrial.
Right. Well, it looks like that 70s Show guy is going to be known by the time he's done with his sentence as that guy in his 70s.
Wow. Oh, man. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, actually,
Pretty
it's
good.
pretty bad. That's why he's going to be in there till he's in his 70s. That's rough. That's really rough. Is his Tommy Chong father going to visit him?
I don't even know how to
This
answer
is
that.
horrible. I mean, I'm very disappointed in him. I'm being serious for a second.
I just realized at
Just
this
for a
moment
second.
you watched that 70s show.
I love that 70s
I
show.
had
It
no
was
clue
awesome.
until this second.
Really, I enjoyed that show. I thought
Did
it was
you
cool.
really?
Dude, it's the 70s, bro. Dude. Got a light?
Well, I guess when that 70s guy got into the year 2000.
Yeah,
was
he
a
should have
problem.
stayed in the 70s. He was a lot safer.
So we were
it's
going
awful.
the holiday,
Awful.
right?
Yeah.
So way back,
Mm-hmm.
for wrestling fans, Teddy Hart,
Yeah.
who's part of the Hart family, wanted to come on the Monte the Pharaoh show.
Sure.
As many people do.
Sure.
And Pharaoh was a big proponent of having
He's
Teddy
a train
Hart.
wreck. I
Right.
wanted to have the train wreck on.
And I passed, right? Because I was just like,
Which
you know what?
Which
'Cause-
shocked me.
Well, because I felt like he was an indie guy, and you know how
Okay,
I
I
am
got
with
you.
the indie
I
thing,
got
right?
you. I got you.
But I'm watching this documentary, and I'm thinking to myself, and we're going to ask this to D'Lo too, because what is up with the wrestling industry? This guy, so he was not accused of murder, but people did accuse him of murder, but not legally accused of murder.
Okay.
Is his training partner, his girlfriend, disappeared. He was
Okay.
arrested for kidnapping, and the list is long of
Right.
charges, as you can see, right?
Sexual assault charges.
There's so many charges. But my
Right.
point is, it's why does the wrestler feel like they have to work everybody? And you work someone to a point, like the girl who disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
He works her, and she had a drug problem, and
Oh.
who knows what happened.
Right?
But my point is like, why do they continually work the fan?
They don't know any better. This is what they've been trained to do their whole lives, and then they can't see the difference between reality or the gimmick, and then they just get carried away, and the next thing you know, everything's a gimmick to them. And to me, it's the boy who cried wolf, especially if you keep burning people the way this schmuck obviously did
Right.
many times over. The gimmick gets stale, and now you're the boy who cried wolf. Nobody gives a shit about you.
But what happened to simple morality?
Sorry, but it's true.
What happened
You
to
know?
simple morality?
Simple morality. Well, what was the last time you saw that? Maybe when Reagan was in the White House? What?
Like,
I didn't have sexual relations with that cigar.
This guy
I mean,
did
what are we
not
talking?
have a care
Yeah.
about anybody that he has hurt along
Right.
the way,
Right.
whether using them for
Yeah.
every dollar they had,
Yeah.
using them for sexual practices,
Yep.
using them for physical abuse.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, what is happening to society where these animals are roaming this planet?
And-
hence why I did not want Teddy Hart on the show,
Yeah.
because honestly,
Yeah.
I don't think I could hold my tongue.
No, you wouldn't have been
Obviously,
able
I don't, right?
Well,
So,
who would have told you to hold your tongue anyway? I might have had to hold your coat.
no, I understand. I understand.
So be it. You
But
know,
again,
he's a train wreck.
You know,
It is what it is.
you and I have been doing the show for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
We've met so many great
Oh, have
wrestlers.
we? Oh, have we?
And so many great stars. Would
Right.
it be B, C, D level stars? Right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say.
Did you
A,
know
'cause
we're
that'd be a lie.
approaching? We're getting close to 200 now. Guests over
Wow.
all these years.
Really?
Yeah, we thought 100 used to be like, you know, oh wow, 100.
Right.
Oh, way past that now.
Icons.
Yeah, legends.
But how many of them?
Mhm.
I don't want to be too unfair. How many
Okay.
of them tried to work us in the beginning?
To this day, I still expect to be worked. Don't you?
It's really annoying.
It's beyond annoying, and it's probably why we annoy them, because we're like, cut the crap, dude. We see right through your nonsense, and that's usually what kind of ticks them off, because we're not falling for it. Like these poor people you mentioned. What is wrong with society? It's not just the fact that you got an animal like this doing what he's doing to
Right.
people. What's wrong with people falling for this crap?
Because look, if you're a wrestling
He's
fan,
a wrestler.
yeah, but
I mean,
if you're a wrestling
you
fan
falling for
and
it
someone's
for?
part of the Hart family,
right?
Bret Hart, Owen Hart.
What
It's
about Amalicious Hart? Does anybody ever talk about
Well,
Amalicious?
clearly not.
Amalicious used to pick up the beers on Saturday night for the rest of the Hartford. Gets no love whatsoever.
no love.
No love
It's hard to
whatsoever.
be the black sheep of the
Poor
family.
Amalicious Hart.
First of all, where'd you come with the name Amalicious?
Somewhere in the attics of my mind.
I would like to thank the band that sings the theme song for Monte the Pharaoh and Jimmy Farrow, along with his partner Bart Griggs, make up the band Wisteria Hall. Wisteria Hall sings such great songs as In My Dreams, This Life, Not Far Behind, Here Comes the Rain. You can find their music on the Wisteria Hall YouTube page.
Find it, locate it.
Download it on Spotify, Apple Music, or Reverb Nation. And while you're doing that, go to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte and the Pharaoh. Right? Go to the Monte and the Pharaoh YouTube page. Hit that like and subscribe.
That's right.
Go to the Monte and the Pharaoh Facebook Live page. Right? Hear us on iHeartRadio.
Become
Spotify.
a member. Where you
Anchor.
get the hot mic feature that the Pharaoh can't see.
There you go.
There we go. All right.
Anchor. The Monte and the Pharaoh Twitch TV page.
I'm twitching.
We're like everywhere.
We are.
Monte the Pharaoh. If you're lucky enough to live in New York, catch us on channel 115 every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. and every Saturday at 11:30 a.m.
I'm lucky enough.
And channel 20 at 7 on Tuesdays at
Can't wait to
7
catch myself.
p.m. where over 150,000 people see us weekly, where they will see the future Hall of Famer D'Lo Brown in the reduced version of the show that you are watching now.
Abbreviated, condensed.
All different ways.
You're always shrinking it to the point of like water shrinkage.
And most importantly, we are on a new network, right? Intuitive.
Spelled IN2ITIVE.
So this network is a free app, guys. Again, go download it. It's got movies. It's got documentaries. It's got Monte and the Pharaoh, right? It's an awesome app. You get to see these. I was watching it over the weekend, and it's like these documentaries they have on there are so effing cool, man.
Yep.
They're so badass. And then you see these movies that you never even heard, like some you haven't even heard of, and they're friggin' off the hook.
Intuitive. Get into it.
I agree.
There you go.
We'll be right back with future Hall of Famer, who been looking forward to this one, Mr. D'Lo Brown.
We shall return in a moment. M&J Video Games and Collectibles. Sport and non-sport cards, wrestling items, autographed items. We buy, sell, and trade. M&J Video Games and Collectibles, located at 1049 Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. Call us at 1-860-479-9223 or 860-93-GAMES. M&J Video Games and Collectibles.
Sir?
Ah.
Manscaped?
Uh-huh.
Have you tried the new equipment that's been sent?
I'm afraid because it says weed whacker. I'm scared.
Maven, Manscaped, what are you thinking about
Love it.
Manscaped, dude?
Love it.
What do you use it for?
Necessity. What don't I use it for? Put it this way. The only hair I have on my entire body is these eyebrows.
Yeah.
That you see. These caterpillars racing to the middle of my nose. That's it.
That is it.
That's all I have. And that's all I want.
That's the
So Manscaped is a must.
We were talking before the show. There's nothing worse than just hair.
Yeah.
Right? Hair on a woman, hair on a man. It's just bad.
Absolutely. And it's the one thing that the older I get, it starts growing more in unwanted areas.
Absolutely.
I hate it.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
Just going to go out there.
Oh, boy.
Go for it.
You're doing a deed.
Yes.
Again, I don't want you to have to admit this because we, as men, we try not to admit this. But if you're going to go do the deed on a woman, would you rather have her be hairless or a little hair, racing stripe, or
Racing stripe.
full retro bush?
Racing stripe.
Retro Bush is out.
Yes, thank you.
Retro Bush is out.
Yeah.
I don't mind a small, well manicured landing strip. Every now and then, if it's completely, and I'm talking like baby's ass bald, then I start. Where is that pedophilia line? I don't want to wander into that.
That's very
thought of it like
interesting.
that.
I never thought about that. You're a smart dude. Holy shit.
So if the landing strip is clean enough for the plane to go in smoothly, you're cool with that?
If the landing strip has, like I said, well manicured,
Yeah,
you can see both sides. It's not
Like blinking lights on both sides of that
I
landing?
just don't. I don't want. I don't want the shrubbery going off into unwanted areas on that as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Oh, look
but-
what you found. Ooh.
I got to be all honest though. Hey, the older I get though, I don't think I can be as
I found it!
Have you ever gone down there and she slowly brings down the underwear? Then
What is
Retro. Just,
Absolutely.
You're like, whoa.
Wow,
Yeah, I'm
like
46,
it
of
pops
course.
out?
Do you like walk out or what do you do?
No, I muster through. I muster up the courage to get
He's a
through.
trooper. He's a trooper. Gotta give him a nice
Not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah,
There you
no,
go.
I hear you.
There you
Listen,
go.
I couldn't
Super
say.
Bush.
I couldn't say. Well, if you have the same beliefs as Maven does, Manscaped could help you.
Absolutely.
The weed whacker.
Absolutely.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that I may have to, go in a room, close the door, and hang out with the weed whacker for a little while.
Yeah, I think you're a retro guy, aren't you?
I like 70s adult films, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
but
only
with that,
Ron
we're going to take a
Jeremy,
quick
Batman.
commercial break and we'll be
Anyway.
back with this wrestling icon, Maven.
We will see you in a drop kick second.
Drop kick. All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh, seen only here out of the great indie music TV straight out of Long Island. Why are you looking up in the air?
I'm looking around at Indie Music TV. It's
Wow.
a lovely scenario.
It's a lovely place.
It's lovely here.
We're welcoming future Hall of Famer, Mr. D'Lo Brown. D'Lo, how are you, sir?
What's going on, fellas? I got to tell you, it's hard to follow that Manscaped commercial. That's all I'm put out there. Just one time. That's hard. It's hard to follow that.
Where's your landing strip, D'Lo?
It's right over at Henry International Airport, right here in Las Vegas.
The plane.
Oh, my God. Hey, so D'Lo, you kind of heard our little shtick here between me and the Pharaoh about wrestlers and working the public. And what are your thoughts on that whole thing? Am I out of line with those comments?
To some degree, because in a lot of ways, before the internet, we were always taught to keep who we are and our personal life separate. And then now it's more accessible. And to me, I like keeping my anonymity of who I am. Now, I don't try to work people. I don't try to pretend I'm something I'm not. But also, we talked about bad guys in this industry, and I think it's unfair because, yes, there are some bad apples in this business, but I think they're the vocal minority, and then we all get a bad rap because of the handful of guys who do idiotic things.
Sure, I can see that. D'Lo, I got to tell you, I really enjoyed your work as an announcer back in the day with Impact. Any chance you could go back to that at some point, doing announcing again?
I really enjoy doing it, and there have been some discussions about doing some other stuff. I still do some color commentating out here on the West Coast for, like FSW, or there's a company in Colorado called Rocky Mountain Pro that I do some work for.
Sure.
So I enjoy talking. I love talking. People tell me I got a good voice for it. I frankly can't stand hearing the sound of my own voice, but I love talking about wrestling.
Did you used to practice your promos in the mirror for a guy who doesn't like the sound of his own voice? Were you forced to?
Hell yes. That's what
Okay.
you're supposed to do. I in the rearview mirror of my car while driving on the highways,
Awesome.
in my bathroom, screaming as soon as I get out of the shower. You got to practice your promos. You got to practice way to talk. If you can't talk, you can't be in pro wrestling.
Did your wife ever say, like, D'Lo, you suck. You gotta really work on this.
Wow, that's rough.
Everybody who knows me tells me I suck, so it's okay.
Oh my God, that is rough.
Well, I don't think you suck. I was just taking my personal experience because anytime I do something, my wife makes sure she goes out of the way to
You
tell me how I
suck.
suck at it, no matter
Oh,
what it is,
suck.
cutting the lawn or whatever.
Normally
Cutting
you
the lawn.
normally you suck is code phrase for shut the hell up. I don't want to hear you talk.
Wow.
Dropping some knowledge.
No wonder you wore a
So,
chest
yeah.
protector. Oh my Lord. D'Lo, I got to ask you. You started your career. Let's go back to the way back in the beginning, kind of. You started your career with the Gangsters. Now,
Yeah.
we were fortunate enough to have New Jack in the studio many times, and we had the Gangsters together too. To me, very disturbing that New Jack passed away so young. Can you share thoughts and your relationship with New Jack for the audience?
I will tell you, to this day, Jack is he owns a large part of my heart. Like he brought me into his group that was already established down in Tennessee and brought me in like I was there from the beginning. Anytime I needed advice or anything, Jack was always there. To this day, I'm friends with Jack's wife. When he passed, she sent me a suit that he wore at some function somewhere, and that's here in my house. So Jack to me is the brother I didn't have and always wanted, and he sadly missed, and I can't believe he's gone.
Do you ever think that the WWE Hall of Fame will actually show some balls and acknowledge the great, groundbreaking New Jack?
I would love that, because if you can put a guy like Abdullah Butcher in, who really never wrestled for the WWE, if you can put him in, or the Great Muta, Jack was a revolutionary promo. He was as real as it gets.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was cutting edge, and he changed the way people looked at wrestlers and the realism of what wrestling is. So for me, he owns a spot in the Hall of Fame.
Do you cringe when you see some of these folks get into the Hall of Fame? Like, for example, Tori Wilson, as I look at my partner. Any thoughts on stuff like that? Now, you don't have to throw her
My
under the
thing
bus,
is,
but
no. In general, my thing is, I don't ever question why someone gets in the Hall of Fame. I literally, hey, you did enough for somebody somewhere. They
right,
appreciate you enough to bring you in the Hall of Fame.
right.
You can only, and I try to only critique what the criteria is. If I may or may not get into the Hall of Fame, that's it. Hopefully, I did enough.
You certainly did in my book. Let's talk a little Smoky Mountain wrestling. Any thoughts on Monte and the Pharaoh's good buddies from PG-13, Jamie Dundee and Wolfie D?
They were more USWA, but they would come into Smoky from time to time, and they were one of those first tag teams that were that high flyer, smaller guys who wrestled bigger.
Right.
And you never look at them like, wow, they're tiny guys. I remember standing next to JC and Whoopi, and I'm like, man, on TV, I always thought you were bigger than what you were because you wrestled bigger. And down in Memphis, those were the hottest two guys, other than Lawler or Dundee. Those were the two hottest guys out there. And man, that Mid-South Coliseum rocked whenever they came out. I mean, I remember going down to Memphis one time with Jack, and we just went there and sat in the crowd. They didn't even know we were coming down there. We just bought tickets and went and sat in the crowd. And PG-13 turned the lights out and was like, damn, we'd love to get in the ring with those two.
What reeled in the audience on such a level over there for them? Was it Jamie's? Because I know Jamie can talk. What was it that got the crowd so into them?
I literally think the people saw themselves in them,
Okay.
so they could live vicariously through PG-13, because they look like, I hate to say it, they look like your paper boy. They look like your guy who hooked your cable up. But then they would go out there with a hubcap and a chain and bust ass and beat people down. And it was tremendous what they did. I mean, it had to be a combination of charisma and talk, and just they look like me. So that the people in Memphis just rallied behind him. And maybe it was the underdog in them because they
Right.
were smaller. I don't know.
Right.
It just
Could have been all those things.
Like I told you, it's all those things, and they just locked onto him and loved him.
So, I guess you ran across Jim Cornette a few times. I'm not a huge fan. Did you ever want to slap the crap out of that guy?
With his racket? With his
Only
racket.
in the ring when I was booked to. But I'm a Cornette guy because
Okay.
he's the guy who gave me my opportunity in wrestling. I mean,
Oh, he's a
he brought me to
genius.
Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Yeah.
So, I know everyone has an opinion about Jimmy. Either you love him or you hate him. I'm one of those guys where if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. And you wouldn't be talking to me right now because he gave me that start. So I got nothing but love for James Z. And I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but
Yeah.
I love him.
So, were you a big wrestling fan? You obviously knew who Jim Cornette was when you got there.
Oh.
So,
Huge wrestling fan, bro. 9 years old. I'm sitting there watching, Dusty Rhodes getting beat up, or the Rock and Roll Express fighting the Russians for the NWA World Tag Team titles. I mean, I go back to watching a little bit of late Harley Race and watching Ric Flair. And dude, I mean, I am a wrestling fan since the time I was 9 years old. And it right there is an image of me. Just when you see the image of me, think inside and look inside my mind. My 9-year-old self is laughing his ass off because he can't believe he's doing this.
so great.
Wow.
That is so great.
What was the wrestler that got you going? Like, who was the one that lit the fire?
It it was like guys like the Rock and Roll Express fighting the Russians, like I said, or I was a grunt guy. Like I loved Arn Anderson, I love Ron Simmons, I love Tully Blanchard, guys who weren't the flashiest of guys, but just went out there and just kicked ass.
Greg
Like those
Valentine?
are the guys who drew me in.
Greg Valentine?
Greg Valentine's another one. Yes.
There we go. There we go.
And
So I know.
I'll go northeast. I'll go northeast because I grew up northeast, like watching Gorilla Monsoon and Greg Valentine and hell, Dino Bravo, guys like that.
Dino Bravo.
Those
Nice.
guys who weren't the flashiest guys. Just if you saw them in a bar, you'd be scared of them because you knew they can kick ass.
Yeah, like
Right.
Harley Race. I'm not fighting that guy. No way.
Yes.
No way.
So I know you have a degree
Yeah,
in account. Good.
Yeah. God, I'm saying Harley Race has been long gone for some time. I still wouldn't mess with him. He'd come out of the grave and still
No.
kick my ass.
No. No.
All right. So don't get
agree.
mad at me on this, D'Lo. So we talk about this all the time.
Don't start
And
with Harley. Don't
I'm
do
not
it.
starting with Harley. All I have to say is this.
This guy.
I was a WWE guy, right? So,
True.
or WWF guy, old school.
Yep.
For some reason, I just never got Harley Race. Why? What was wrong with me?
Explain what made Harley magic.
Okay, so and there's a fundamental difference between WWF and the old NWA. And WWF was glitz and glamour and showtime, where NWA was, bingo halls and just fights. And Harley was a fighter. He wasn't the most glamorous or spectacular or charismatic. And that's why I don't think he really translated to the Northeast and to the WWF crowd as well as he did with the NWA crowd, which they expected that bar fight mentality.
Interesting. King Harley Race got booed pretty heavily, though. He did a good job when Vince asked him to.
King Harley did because he was a character at that point. He wasn't
Right.
just Harley Race.
Right.
When it's just Harley Race, the white guy with the curly fro, and just going out there and wrestling in a pair of tights, that's not the most exciting of wrestlers in terms of charisma. And then you go to the King Harley, it's a whole different character.
Right.
So let me ask you this. Becoming a wrestling fan, back in the day, there wasn't a lot of black wrestlers. How does a black man get intrigued with pro wrestling when the majority of the wrestlers are white?
When I first started wrestling or started watching wrestling, it never even came into my forefront of there's a lot of white guys there or some black guys. And then I saw a guy like Ron Simmons. And then it dawned on me, there's a guy who looks like me who's out there winning and not just getting beat up like Rocky King or, Coco Beware.
Right. Right.
So then I thought, there's a guy I could be like, and if he can do it, why couldn't I do it? And then you start just watching it, and color to me goes out the window when you're watching the art of wrestling and the entertainment of wrestling. It's just fun, and I just fell in love with it. It was literally the thing I wanted to do since the time I was 9 years old.
Love it. So I know you have a degree in accounting, but can you tell me what it was like telling your parents, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm not going to be an accountant. I'm going to be a pro wrestler.
Oh, boy.
So it was it was not the easiest thing to do because I was always taught education was a thing, and it is and it still is to this day. I just could not sit in a cubicle with a suit and tie on. I was an athlete from the time I could walk, and I wanted to explore what I was going to do. And I remember leaving my job. I worked there in New York City for a Fortune 500 company. I remember taking 2-week leave of absence. I remember driving down from New York City to Morristown, Tennessee. I never went back on those 2 weeks. I never went back for my 2-week absence.
Did you frog splash your laptop on the way out the door?
I threw it in the Delaware River.
Wow.
With that belt Austin tossed in the river. Excellent.
Right
Excellent.
there next to it, bro.
Right next
Where do you think they got the idea from?
There you go.
That's good.
What?
And is your mom calling you like, what are you doing right now?
I'll just say it like this: I was not very encouraged. I
Oh,
was
man.
called every negative word in the planet. I was told I was going to fail. Um, I was a moron. I was an idiot. What am I thinking? I'm throwing my life down the drain. And a year later, those same people were asking for tickets to the Philadelphia Spectrum. So I
Yeah,
think I did all right.
I was going to say, did you send them your tax return after your first big paychecks from WA? I'm an accountant. I can do my taxes too. What do you think of that?
I let them know that their opinions were there, but they weren't needed and they weren't appreciated.
That's awesome.
So you have two wonderful daughters, right? Bria, am I saying that correct?
Bria, I have three: Bria, Peyton, and Harper.
Okay,
Oh,
so I'm going to
three.
focus on Peyton. I'm assuming you named her Peyton because you must love sweetness from the Chicago Bears. Would I be correct?
That is completely 100%. He is the reason I fell in love with the Chicago Bears. I saw that man run one time, and I was like, "That's my guy. That's my team." And ironically, it was 9 when I fell in love with them, and I've been a Bears fan ever since.
Is it just me? Because to this day, I still want to smack Mike Ditka for not letting Sweetness get a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Are you mad about that?
I was so mad about it at WrestleMania 13 as I'm sitting there having a conversation with Walter Payton. I asked him, "Were you mad standing on the sidelines watching the refrigerator score touchdown when that should have been yours?" And all he did was smile.
There you go. There you go. He
So
was too
yeah,
classy
till
to say.
this day, the most egregious thing to ever not happen in a Super Bowl is Walter Payton not getting a
It
touchdown.
was sickening. I'm still mad about it, and I'm a Jet fan.
Where does Peyton rank in the all-time running backs?
Ooh.
Um, there's a lot of things like offensive line, but I think if you put Walter Payton behind the Dallas Cowboys offensive line that Emmitt Smith ran behind,
Right.
he'd have double the rushing yards of everybody. So I think Emmitt Smith is a product of a great offensive line. I put in no particular order. It's like Barry Sanders,
There
Gale
it is.
Sayers, Walter Payton. They're all right there.
How about
Like
Jim
people
Brown, who we
and
recently.
Jim Brown's another one.
Right.
People who revolutionized the running back position and were like, that bell cow running back that we haven't seen in the NFL in 20 years.
Am I out of line with this statement? I was talking to Pharaoh about this last week after Jim Brown's passing, and I was always a huge Jim Brown fan. But in today's NFL, would a Jim Brown or Walter Payton be just a very good running back instead of a great running back?
Yeah, they'd all be serviceable and good because the league has moved away from it, and they're not relying on one guy to tote the rock 35 times.
Right.
You're lucky if you get 20 touches as a running back in today's NFL because,
Right.
Today's NFL is about getting the ball down the field through the pass because they want to put up points. And back when Sayers and Brown and Peyton were running, it's about let's grind it out, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Let's just win the game,
Sure.
7-14-7.
Right.
Where now they want to win 28-7 and they just want to, get up the field. So I think a guy like Walter Payton today would just be above average back because of his lack of usage.
Basically, the running back like a Larry Zonka doesn't exist anymore.
No, that guy is. I don't think that guy ever comes back.
Right.
I don't think that running back ever returns.
Too bad. Too bad.
I love that game. I love that.
While we're still on football, because I got to get it in.
Oh, boy.
You know it's coming.
Yep, another jinx.
Any, I'm not going to say the name of the game.
Okay.
D'Lo, is there any chance,
Oh,
being
my God.
lifelong Jet fans over here, so you understand the pain, okay? Maybe you
Okay,
don't.
yep.
Maybe you don't. Do we got any shot here with Aaron Rodgers to get to that certain game at the end of the year?
Here's the thing, and as a Bears guy,
Here we
I
go.
can't
Here we
stand
go.
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I
Bears,
can't
Packers,
stand,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
I have to respect talent. I don't care if I like you or not. I respect talent. And that guy can sling the rock, and he's good at what he does.
Say it, D'Lo. Keep going. Keep going.
You guys have brought in a ton of weapons for him. You got
Yep.
a stellar offensive line. Your defense was stout last year. Other than the AFC being stacked as hell,
Yeah.
you guys have a legit chance to do some damage. And I'm not going to put a number on it. I'm not going to
Don't.
say where you can go.
Yeah.
All I can say is you guys are going to be competitive, and it'll be the best Jets team you've seen since Namath.
Wow.
Except we have a coach that can't handle
We don't
that
know
kind
that.
of talent.
We don't know that yet.
Just like
You don't
Tony
know
Khan. Just like Tony Khan in
Hold on.
AEW, D'Lo.
You don't know what Salah can do because he's never had that kind of talent.
Right.
You can't judge
Right.
him
Agreed.
on the bag of balls he's been working with. Judge him on Hall of Fame talent after the season's over.
I agree. And he has been working with a bag of balls.
Well,
Have you seen those quarterbacks?
So
I hope you're right.
So
I hope you're right.
Judge him at the end of the season and go, okay, now I can see what Salah can do.
Right.
You know, it's hard to judge someone when they're running, Division III college kids out there.
I agree. Well, I really appreciate that answer, D'Lo. You've given me hope. I'm sure he's going to just...
No, D'Lo's going to get phone calls from me. He's be like, why does this Monte guy keep calling me? Because I just want to tell you Salah sucks.
Salah's always going to come. Oh, boy, we get weekly updates.
I'm going to get D'Lo. What the hell were you talking about? You cursed us, didn't you? You jinxed us.
Oh, man. Let Joe Namath coach him.
Hey,
All right.
don't let him drink on the sideline.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I
good
sure,
point.
I sure
Very
wanna,
good.
I sure wanna kiss you. Oh boy!
Best
Oy.
proposal ever on TV.
All right, let's talk WWE with the Nation
Yeah.
of Domination, which, by the way, should be inducted into the Hall of Fame. How did that angle all come about? The Nation.
That's a Ron Simmons idea from minute one, and Ron was languishing around as Farouk with the blue helmet and the Spartan outfit, and he took some time off, and he'd come back and pitch the idea of a militant group, and then that's when they started assembling the cast. They brought in Crush and Savio and PG-13 and Clarence Mason, and then it was about surrounding Ron with as many good guys as possible. And unfortunately, I got brought into the mix as in January '97 as the bump guy, because they had all these guys that were wearing suits. And I don't know if you know, but back when the Nation first started, it was Clarence Mason and a bunch of brothers wearing suits. Well, those were all Clarence's fraternity brothers. So none of them were trained wrestlers. So here you are, you got this heel group getting all this heat on baby faces, and Ron can't be touched because he's the top guy. Savio and Crush can't be touched because they're like the top tag team for the group. So bring in Take a Bump D'Lo so I can take all the heat and the people can get even with me.
D'Lo bump. Oy.
Take a bump D'Lo.
Take a bump, D'Lo.
D'Lo bump instead of me. Good Lord.
D'Lo, because I have no life, right? I really got into the young... Because I have no life. I mean, I got to be honest.
Disclaimer.
Big fan of the Young Rock. Last season...
Yeah.
The Rock gets involved with this guy, Chad Frost. And then eventually the dirt sheets come out. Everybody says this guy, Chad Frost, is Shawn Michaels, who's stabbing him in the back. Then they interview Shawn Michaels, and he claims he really never had interaction with Dwayne Johnson. Mm-hmm. What do you know about that? Were you involved there? Did you see that going on? Was there interaction? Was there not interaction?
I never saw any of that, and when Rock first came in, I came in after him, so I didn't deal with that, like any of that stuff, and then I never saw him and Shawn really interact. It felt like two ships in the night, because as Rocky got injured, then joined the Nation. Shawn was kind of on his way out at that point because he had hurt his back. He just had He just had the incident with his back, and he had lost to Austin at Mania, and then he was kind of gone.
And he lost his smile, too.
So he lost his smile. He lost a few things.
Yeah.
And so I never saw the interaction between the two of them like that. But hey, anything's possible. Like I don't want to speak on it because I didn't see it. I'm not gonna say it didn't happen. I'm not gonna say it did happen. I have no clue.
As a wrestling fan, would you consider that a missed opportunity that we never got to see The Rock and Shawn Michaels really have something?
Yeah, I would love to have seen The Rock as Rocky got over,
Hmm.
like big time become The Rock,
Hmm.
and Michaels, heck yeah, like that would have been awesome.
It's a
Like
missed
I just you
opportunity.
think back as
Yeah.
yeah, I believe it's a missed opportunity because you think as a fan, here are these two charismatic forces coming together. That would have been something. Like you could have headlined WrestleMania with that kind of
Could
match.
have.
Yeah,
Could
for
have.
sure. Montreal screw job.
Ooh.
Hmm.
Work? Was it a work?
I think it was a work. I always thought it was a work. Um,
Nice.
it's very funny that there was a camera crew just happened to be filming Brett that weekend.
He's got a
Um,
point.
I mean, there was too many. Like I saw Vince after it happened in the parking lot, and he didn't look too worse for wear. The next day, he had a black eye. Now, hey, a black eye does swell up overnight,
Wait,
but
Yeah,
wait
it
a
does.
minute. What? Unbelievable. The next day, ow! What
yeah.
the?
So
Wow.
I was in that locker room dressing, and I found it weird that they cleared the locker room, and then 2 minutes later, Vince comes staggering out. It is what it is.
And
I
then
think it
Bret
was
Hart
work,
goes away
but
for like Bret Hart goes away for like 13 years. That's part of the work, though. That's what always
Well, because
confused me.
they were getting the money. But
no,
good.
that part I can't figure that part of the work out.
Thank you, because that confuses me.
Well, I kind of think that maybe Vince couldn't afford his contract and got him a better contract because he had loyalty to him. I'm just amazed if it
And
is
it,
a work. How are they holding on to this secret for such a long time
It's
without
wrestling.
someone finally saying something?
Nah.
well, I know you don't like him, but if you listen to Jim Cornette, he explains the work several times.
Ah,
You're gonna make me listen to Jim Cornette? Thanks a lot.
Yes, I am.
Damn.
YouTube
Damn.
him. He explains the Montreal Screwjob several
Nah,
times on the show.
I'm gonna
he's a
have to
great
check it.
listen. I'll admit that. He's a great listen for sure.
How about the Click? Were they as bad as people claim they were? Nash, Hall, Triple H, Michaels.
And once again, I was right on the tail end of it because that's when Hall and Ash had gone down to WCW. So
Hmm.
when I was there, it was only Pac, Shawn, and Trips. That was the Click,
Okay.
and they were I had no issue with them. They were cool as hell to me. Probably because I had Ron Simmons standing behind me, so that made life easy.
You think it's the Razor Ramon ingredient that may have made the Click what it was in some ways?
It could have been a combination of Razor and Diesel because they were two grown children and they were allowed to be because
Right.
they were good at what they were doing. So
Right.
they had control of the locker room.
Do you consider yourself fortunate that you came in on the tail end of the Click to not deal with the nonsense?
I will say I consider myself fortunate to have been there in the time when I got there and had as much fun as I could.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Okay. This is never easy to ask about, but let's give it a shot. I'll never forget watching this live. I do believe it was May 23rd, 1999. I don't have that date off, on paper here, but the Over the
Hmm.
Edge pay-per-view, the loss of Owen Hart. Can you
Yeah.
uh, can you explain what it was like that night for yourself and the locker room? Just take us through that terrible evening, if you can, please.
Man, that night still cuts through me like a razor. I can see everything that happened that day. I remember seeing Owen before he went to go up top, and I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones I got to wrestle before the incident because I don't know if I could have gone to the ring after. I can tell you that for God's honest truth. Um, I remember Godfather went to the ring, and then the Blazer music hit, and next thing I know, King comes running in the back because I hear the crowd gasp and I don't know what happened. And I remember King running in the back and he was white as a ghost. And the only thing he said was, I think he's dead. And we're like, who? And it was Owen. And I was, oh God, no. And man, like, that night still hurts me. Like I lose, I'm literally, I lose words when thinking about it. I can barely even talk about it. It was like losing a brother. It was like losing a friend. It was losing a confidant. It was losing the heartbeat of the locker room because the locker room was never the same afterwards.
Take me through Vince McMahon. How quickly did he react once this happened? And how quickly did he switch into a leadership role, or was he already in one right at that terrible moment?
Within seconds, Vince had to take control because that's his ship. He's the captain, and within seconds, he had to make a rough decision because people are like, "How did you keep going on?" No one had ever been through anything like that before, so it was unprecedented territory. Vince did the best he could do. Um, was it right? Was it wrong? That's not for me to judge. I just know that he took control of the situation, and from that point forward, he was all there for Owen, for his family, and for whatever they needed.
Can I ask you this? And it's not easy, probably, for you to answer this, but would Owen want you guys to continue that show? Because I've heard all these things over the years. What would Owen Hart have probably said to you guys?
I think Owen would have said, let's keep going. Let's just go. I think the entertainer in him, the worker in him, the talent in him would have just wanted the fans not to have missed out on the rest of what they had already paid for.
Was there a meeting the night after with you guys to discuss the tragedy? And was it? What was
Yeah,
said?
we talked about it, and then we were told that we were all going to fly to Calgary because the funeral happened within 4 or 5 days. So we literally flew home. It was Kansas City, then St. Louis. Flew home, packed a bag, and next thing we were all on the flights to Calgary. Like within 48 hours, we were all headed towards Calgary for the wake and for all the other everything else that went with it. Golly.
When the show was decided to continue, was there anybody that was very loud against continuing?
Not that I remember. I think everyone was just somber, and it was you saw, like, for example, Jeff Jarrett and Deborah were literally in tears, and that wasn't just on film. That was everyone with the back was like that. So that was just a continuation to be back there. I don't remember anyone, and it's all real. That part's a blur. I don't remember anyone saying, "Let's stop this. Let's stop this." It was kind of like just more of what the hell's going on kind of thing.
How does it make you feel all these years later when you hear people with heavy opinions as to how could they continue? Does that anger you? Like, you weren't there? Why don't you just shut your little keyboard fingers? I mean,
My thing is, you weren't there. You weren't in the moment, and I don't know anyone out there who's critiquing it who's made a multi-million-dollar decision to continue or not to continue within seconds. And I don't know many people out there who have that ability to make that decision. So here's the thing: is if you weren't there, then just let's just keep our opinions to ourselves at this point.
that's fair enough.
So when you see something like Dark Side of the Ring, does that bother you? That they start pointing fingers of things should have been done differently?
Digging up the dirt.
You're going to get two sides to every story. I focus on Dark Side of the Ring when they're talking about Owen and his life and times, as opposed to they could have done this differently, or this rigging company should have done that. I like focusing on what I like to remember about Owen is his smile, his practical jokes, and his laugh, and his life, and that's where I just stop right there.
Fan Don the Barber has a question. He says, was Ahmad Johnson close to match strength in the gym with Mark Henry?
No, hell no. No, Mark Henry is the strongest thing I've ever seen on this planet, man or beast. There's it's a whole different level of strength.
Okay.
There are very few people who could come close to whatever Mark Henry did. I mean, I've seen Mark Henry take 18-inch piece of rebar and bend it in a bow tie and hand it to somebody. No. Mm-mm.
I wasn't going to bring up the Ahmad Johnson thing, but since a fan asked it, what was the problem with Ahmad Johnson that you guys all seem to dislike about him?
Um, I don't think he had much respect for the business. I don't think he had much love for it. I think maybe it was just a way of making money.
Mm.
I don't know. But he never clicked with a lot of guys in the locker room and just rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And I think he had a higher opinion of himself than the rest of the locker room did.
I can't tell if you're describing Ahmed or Goldberg.
Hey, all right there.
Boy, oh
All
boy, I
right,
gotta
bang
tell
bang. Let me get my gun. Let's shoot here.
Bill, you all right? Was Ahmad dangerous in the ring, though?
Uh, he was very unsafe,
Very unsafe.
and I don't pull punches on that because as someone who's been in the ring and had an accident, and it was a complete accident, I never ever try to take liberties on somebody in the ring, and I can't say the same about him.
I was there at the Nassau Coliseum. That terrible night happened between you and Droz, and I can only imagine what you have to deal with, right? I mean, I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. How were you able to come to grips with that throughout your life? Because it certainly is a difficult situation.
Well, I mean, it was hard. In fact, I quit wrestling. Like I was done. I literally went home and got on my couch and called Jim Ross and said I quit. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And then luckily he gave me a little time to sit and think. And then talking with Droz and visiting with Droz, and then having Jim Ross call me and tell me it's like playing football. I mean, we all go into this knowing that it's not ballet and something can happen. And unfortunately, it happened then. And the funny thing about it, Droz and I have watched it back together, and we still can't figure out what went wrong that night. We had done the running power bomb 100 times on shows all around the country. Never an issue. And that one night, just something went wrong. And
Did,
going
D'Lo,
back to the conversation with Jim Ross, he talking to me, he goes, it's a shame that one career had to end. Let's not make it two. And why don't you wrestle your career in honor of Droz and wrestle for him and for him. And that's what I did after that point. I muscled through it, and I my career was from that point. It wasn't just mine; it was mine and his.
were you afraid of competing after that? I mean, it's the slight game of inches, for God's sakes. Obviously, I mean, were you tentative about getting back in the ring and bumping and doing all the things you do?
It took me a minute because I was gun shy for a little bit, but then I just went back down to a couple wrestling schools in South Florida and rolled around and just started getting that feel back, and then it helped. Like I said, sitting there and watching what Droz going, what happened? I don't know. Can you see anything? I don't know. So it was just an unfortunate mistake, an accident that happened, and from that day, I've never done the running power bomb again because I was like, you know what? If I can't figure out what went wrong, I'm never
Right.
going to do it again.
Yeah.
And so I've never done the running power bomb from that day forward. And if you take that out of the equation, then I just went and wrestled and had fun.
Did you go looking for Droz right away after the in the hospital and stuff, or how does that work?
I literally was in the back. I waited for him when he got on the gurney. Where's he going? What hospital? I was in the hospital the arena wasn't empty. The show was still going on. I was in the hospital with him.
Well, I'm sure he appreciated that, D'Lo, and I'm glad you were able to get past it, at least for the wrestling fans and for yourself. Thank God.
Yeah.
A lot of things have happened in the last couple of years, especially in the WWE. Vince McMahon, we're huge fans of Vince McMahon in so many different ways. He's been some good and bad, right? Some sexual accusations, had to step down. He's now sold his company for $1 billion, or let me say merged, use the proper term. Can you tell us your thoughts on Vince McMahon, the promoter and the human being?
As a promoter, he's the greatest thing since Ringling Brothers. He found something and was able to market it to the world in a way that no other promoter has ever done since, and quite frankly, probably will never be able to duplicate. I mean, he found a way to take wrestling from the smoky bars of the Northeast and take it to every corner of the globe. I mean, that's impressive. He was able to create or be part of creating hundreds of characters that resonate to people till this day. Um, that that's amazing unto itself. You talk of the promoter. When it comes to the man, hey, even the best of us are flawed, and he proved that he's not perfect.
You really come across as a really good human being and well thought out. Would you give that credit to your parents and your upbringing?
Oh, that's my mom, my grandparents. I was always taught education from day one. Speak like you've been there before. Speak articulately. Let no one have the ability to cut you down in any way. Let your actions speak for you instead of people judging you on what you look like or how you speak. So, um, my mom, my grandparents, I give them all the credit in the world.
All right, we're going to hit you something called the Pharaoh's final question.
Okay.
Unscripted. He may ask you
Oh, here we go.
what underwear you
Uh-oh.
wear,
I would
what
not-
kind of sandwich
God.
you eat. I don't know.
I'm not going
But,
to ask him what kind of
we're
underwear
gonna
he
have it.
wears.
I don't know. I don't know what you're going to
Jesus,
ask.
It's unbelievable. Fruit of the Loom or Hanes?
Commando.
Commando! Wow, let's get froggy. Unbelievable.
Hey, that's where you think the frog splash came from.
There we go. There we go. We're all over it. Okay. Let's see. D'Lo, who's the greatest European champion of all time? That's you.
X-Pac myself.
Thank you.
X-Pac myself.
There we go. If you could
I
change,
never like putting myself over. X-Pac myself.
if you could change anything in your booking back in the Attitude Era, what would you have done to make your character even more of what you thought would work for it?
Never be involved with Tiger Ali Singh.
Very good.
Hey, all right. Okay.
All right. Well, I got to ask you the question, and we're going to let you go. Thank you again, by the way. What an honor it is to have you on the show.
Yes.
Incredible human being. Thank you so much. Don the Barber asked, you worked with both. Who would you take up in a fight, Ron Simmons or New Jack?
Oh, God.
Neither. I'm running from both.
Yeah.
Look,
Oh.
in the dictionary, if you look next to the word man in the dictionary, there's a picture of Ron Simmons. Okay? There's a picture of Ron.
Yeah.
New Jack, a fight was never over with New Jack until New Jack said it was over. Like, he could come from the grave right now and fight. So I don't want to fight either of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hiding right behind you. There we go. Excellent.
Now I have to
I'm hiding
ask.
behind
Oh,
you.
you're hiding behind us? Wait a minute.
You're
He
right.
can't even run. Forget it. What are you talking?
So the first time I met New Jack in studio, I said to
love him.
Pharaoh, he
Love
looked
him.
through me like I was glass.
He scared him.
And I'm like, this guy's like kind of scaring the crap out of me. Was that the gimmick, New Jack, or was there no gimmick in New Jack?
Was he working him, or was he just being New Jack?
Okay, the line between New Jack and Jerome Young
Right.
was razor thin.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they were both the same person, but yet if you knew Jerome and if you got in his good graces, you got to see the other side of Jack.
Yeah.
And that's the side that I love. Like, I got to see Jerome Young, and that's the side that's my brother. Now, New Jack, I wanted him when we were going through those damn, high school arenas in Tennessee and Kentucky. I needed New Jack there. I need Jerome.
There you go.
There you go. Sir, thank you for joining us. We can't thank you enough. Wish you the best. Where can fans see you in upcoming weeks, months?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it. It's fun. I enjoy being on here talking. Just follow me on Twitter at DLoveBrown75. I say I was the only verified dealer, but for $8.99 you could buy verification, so anybody can be verified nowadays.
I have a
And
Twitter
I've used,
account that says D'Lo Brown, the real D'Lo Brown. So there you
We've
go.
got a D'Lo for
see,
sale.
there you
What the heck's
go.
going on here?
So if you follow me at Dealer Brown 75, you'll know exactly where I'm at. I'm doing a little freelance work for Impact Wrestling again. I'm over doing autograph signings all the time, all around the country. Just come out and see me, say hi. Very approachable, and I'll probably talk to you about the Bears for 2 hours.
Oh,
There you
we
go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the great D'Lo Brown. Thank you, sir. Thank you for
D'Lo.
joining us.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks, D'Lo.
Thank you, guys.
Wow. That
good,
was,
right?
Guy, he rules. That was fantastic.
That guy's a true gentleman.
Yeah, he is. He is.
But you know what? I don't think I expected anything differently, to be honest with you.
I wasn't sure what to expect, but I'm quite pleased. And he was like the Ian Entertainment even back then. The guy was entertaining as could be.
Absolutely. And I got that question you asked about him announcing again.
Yeah,
Really.
He enjoyed it.
The WWE would do well if they brought him in as announcer. He did a really good job.
I think he would be great. Who's he replacing? Who are we firing? We got to fire somebody. You're fired. You're fired.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? Why we even say WWE? AEW.
What do you mean? Excalibur's award-winning. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
What do you mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want a tenured guy like that announcing? And if you were smart, Tony Khan, you would have him book an agent for you.
Yeah, that would be intelligent, but so would be a 5-minute segment every week with Monte and the Pharaoh interviewing wrestlers on the show. And giving them a hard time.
Does the nation
and then getting beat up.
Does the nation get into the Hall of Fame?
They should. I think at some point they probably will. At some point down the road. You can't keep overlooking them. But then again, they overlook a lot of others. So I guess when Vince gets the win, or maybe Triple H makes a push for it, it'll happen.
Impact is faction.
Well,
Nation.
from that time period, they made a nice indentation, didn't they? I thought that they were fantastic. I think that almost the sands of time now, it's like, I think you need to recognize them. Because the sands of time are, being the sands of time. Hurry up and do it already.
That's a good point.
I mean, what are you waiting for? You got Tori Wilson in there.
Again, like
I'm still mad
everybody,
about
we're
that.
honored every Thursday for you guys joining us. Again, you are watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh. Catch us on the Monte The Pharaoh YouTube page. Catch us on the Monte The Pharaoh Facebook Live page. Hear us on the Monte.
It's more like fake book, but yeah. Facebook,
there you go.
Yeah.
Catch us on where all audio is and on the new network, Intuitive.
Spelled
where
INTIVE.
You got that down, brother.
Get into it.
And again, I'm telling you guys, it's a free app. It literally takes nothing. Just download it on your phone. Get it on Roku. They've got so many different things on there. Documentaries, movies, comedies, comedy. There's just so much stuff, and most importantly,
the flagship show.
There
we go.
Monte and the Pharaoh.
Brother.
Again, I want to thank the great D'Lo Brown, future Hall of Famer, one of the greats of all time. Everybody knows who D'Lo is. Again, I want to thank everybody who joined us tonight. We love you. We will see you next Thursday. Abe, another great job producing.
Way to go, Abe.
Thank you again.
Way to go.
This has been Mike Monte.
This is the Pharaoh. You've been watching Monte and the Pharaoh. And until next week, later.